Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all of those of you who bombarded politicians with emails. They have been bombarded. I'll be very brief, and this is my colleague Nick Tuitasi, who heads up the Pasifika Division of Family First. I think we should all be concerned, not only with the wind, but I think we should be concerned when we hear statements like this from Henry Marsh, who's a renowned British neurosurgeon and supporter of euthanasia, and he says, and I quote, "They argue that grannies will be made to commit suicide. Even if a few grannies get bullied, isn't that the price worth paying for all the people who could die with dignity?" End quote. That's a shocking quote, isn't it? But then you've also got a quote from someone from New Zealand, Marion Street, an ex-MP and a supporter of this bill, who said, "Application for children with a terminal illness was a bridge too far, in my view, at this time. That might happen in the future, but not now." End quote. But there's no slippery slope, eh? Or maybe we should be concerned when we hear Philip Nixley, the euthanasia campaigner, make a statement that says, "Suicide is a fundamental human right, one that society has no right to interfere with." End quote. Really? No, definitely not. But then on the other hand, we have Liz Carr, who's a UK disability rights activist, who says, "One person's right to die becomes another person's duty to die. Some of the worst coercion is choosing it yourself because you feel you've got no option." And let me finish with a story about a guy called J.J. Hansen. He was a former Marine from the New York. He did a tour of Iraq, and he was diagnosed with one of the most aggressive forms of brain cancer, similar to the brain cancer that Brittany Maynard had, the campaigner for euthanasia in the United States. 3 different doctors told him that he had 4 months to go. He was a supporter of euthanasia, but he decided to do treatment anyway. He joined a clinical trial, and as he went through this trial, he actually came to oppose euthanasia and actually campaigned against it. Why the change in view, especially when he could benefit from it, apparently? He said he imagined what others would be doing in the same position. And he said, "When you were the sickest in your life, how well were you thinking at that time? Not good, right? Now multiply that exponentially when you're facing death. Put the drugs in a glass of beer. Done. In a moment of weakness and difficulty and stress, done." He says, "I don't think I would have done that, but there's many people who could have or would have done that in that situation." End quote. Now sadly, J.J. Hansen died on the 31st of December 2017, but here's the key bit. He died 3 years after the 4 months had elapsed. The safeguards that they talk about in the House and that they talk about in these amendments, they may sound good, but they don't guarantee the protection required for vulnerable people. And we need to apply the precautionary principle, don't we? The higher the risk, the higher the burden of proof on those promoting this bill to say that it is completely safe. Because at the end of the day, how many mistakes are we willing to accept? How many wrong cases are we willing to accept? I say no. None. We should accept none. And that's the exact reason you're here, because we're voting no, because we want none. No mistakes. No mistakes. Can I just remind you folks that if tonight doesn't go our way, that's a big if, but if it doesn't, our campaign has just begun. Yeah? Are you in for it? So can I just get a photo? If you've got one of those red signs or any sign, just raise it, please. That looks awesome. Whew. Just raise it high and just turn it towards that building over there so they see it. Yeah. Vote no. Thank you, everybody. Here's Nick Tuitasi.
Thank you, Bob. There's something Tongan about those red signs. Very quickly, team, why? Because my speech was really original and really motivational until I heard all the other speakers, and it's all been repeated. So I'm just going to be very brief. I am the Pasifika Director for Family First. I've only just got onto the field to make some tackles in February, and I'm calling out to our Pacific people now to come off the bench and make some tackles too. This is why we're here in this nation, is to help the team to win some victories. Team, very quickly, I'm not politically correct, I warn you now, but I am pacifically correct. And pacifically correct is based on two things. One, all islanders have an auntie that hasn't seen you for a long time, and when she sees you, she goes, "Oh, you're fat." We speak the truth. And secondly, thanks to the Europeans that came to the islands in the Pacific, you gave us some boundaries in the gospel. We speak the truth, we're founded on something solid, and we will win. Keep up the good work, team.